Everyone is suddenly booking holidays again. So a common question coming into Geeksvana is whether or not you can or should travel with your drone on a plane. Today we'll be giving you the essential guidance and tips about keeping your drone safe and sound and making it to and from your destination with your little flying friend. Let me know in the comments below if you have travelled with your drone on an airline, and give your own advice and share your experiences with everyone else in the Geeksvana community. Before we get into the main travel advice, I just want to briefly mention one important thing to do before you travel with your drone. Check the rules for flying a drone in the country you are visiting, and even the region of the country you're traveling to. For instance, the UK registration, so your operator ID and flyer ID, are not valid in the EU, and you'll need to register separately. There is a video linked in the description on how to do this, but make sure you research the rules, because sometimes you can even find them changing in a different region of one country. The first thing to say about traveling with your drone on an airline is that it's actually a much more simple and easy process than it used to be. I often get feedback from people who were very worried about taking their drone through security, only to find they barely took any notice of it. Although my personal advice is, if you can avoid it and have the space, do not pack your drone in checked baggage. Although the risks of damage are still relatively rare, for me there is less risk keeping the drone with me, but that is a decision for you to make. Previously, there was a lot of nervousness about allowing you to fly with your drone from airlines, and that didn't focus around a concern about the actual drone itself, but more the increased risk from having extra batteries on board. Thankfully, over time, both the regulators and airlines have gotten to grips with this issue and now have straightforward rules that you can find on most of their websites. However, one tip here is to still email customer services and ask what the requirements are for taking your drone on your flight. Mention your flight number and your destination to them. Usually they will confirm straight away that you can carry the drone and point you to the relevant page on their website. It's still something I do to ensure the guidelines on the site are not out of date, and I also print off the email and the guidelines to take with me to show security if it is required. So as I said before, the batteries are the real issue in terms of an increased risk to the airplane. So the watt hours is really what the regulators and airlines focus on here. Although generally you will find that most global regulators are relaxed and have no restrictions about drone batteries under the 100 watt hours. So in real terms, that's a DJI Phantom 4 size battery and below. Airlines themselves still restrict how many you can carry, so it's essential you check with them. For instance, British Airways permit you to carry 4 batteries per person, which are properly protected in hand luggage. You must never check spare batteries. So the watt hours is the key figure you need to know. This is printed usually on the side of most of the batteries these days. And for instance, a Mini 2 battery is 17.32 watt hours and a Mavic 3 battery is 77 watt hours. So these fall within the 4 spare batteries mentioned for British Airways, for instance. So I'd be able to carry 1 in the device itself and up to 4 spares per person. Be aware that although there is a simple equation to work out the watt hours of a battery, many airlines have the policy of not allowing batteries that do not show their rating on board. Now, most may not even check when the battery is obviously so small, but it is worth keeping in mind. You might also need to show that any electrical device works, so be prepared to switch on the drone if security asks you to. Remember to ensure you turn on the remote controller first, as this is just good practice, just in case the drone decides to start up, etc., which is rare, but it's still always good practice to turn the remote on first. This also means you'll need to make sure the batteries have enough charge to do this, of course. If the batteries are flat or you cannot turn on the device when requested, it is likely the drone will not be able to travel with you. Next, we need to speak about packing your drone and batteries for the trip. You need to ensure that you pack them in a way that ensures against accidentally turning them on or any short circuit issues. Personally, I tend to use a small hard case like one of these. They can actually fit pretty easily within hand luggage, but if space is at a premium, ensure that you take steps such as covering the battery terminals here with electrical tape. Most modern smart batteries have built-in protection, so it's not necessarily needed, but it does show that you've taken the steps to security. If you're not using a hard case, then a lot of people like to store their batteries in a battery safe bag. they are a few pounds or dollars on Amazon. Just make sure you get one with lots of 5-star reviews. When you're dealing with the airport security, wait until there is an actual issue. Don't worry too much about the fact that you have a drone with you, and try to think of it like a laptop or camera. These days, most airlines treat them that way, and you raising issues early on or getting defensive over the drone too quickly might actually raise a flag in the minds of security and end up with a prolonged conversation that nobody wanted. If you have any other questions, let me know down in the comments below. And to find out more about flying your drone in the EU, watch this video on how to prepare now. Sure now.